Hi. Lately, a few members fall ill with cancer, and a dear sister of our SGI member passed away. Therefore, I have chosen the topic called Overcoming the Sufferings of Sickness and Death. Hopefully, it can bring some light and encouragement to everybody. President Ikeda encourages members to resolve never to be defeated by illness, and to strive for a life of eternity, happiness, true self, and purity. We can use the suffering of illness as fuel to strengthen our faith and also to develop a deeper and more expansive state of life. In the light of the mystic law, and viewed from the perspective of eternity, the struggle against illness is a test to enable us to attain happiness and victory. True health is found in a positive attitude toward life that refuses to be defeated by anything. The sufferings of birth, age, sickness, and death can be transformed into a winning life filled with happiness, true self, and purity by sincerely chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and devote oneself to Kozen Rufu. Falling ill is not a form of failure or defeat. It doesn't happen because our faith is weak. When the suffering of illness occurs amid our efforts for Kozen Rufu, it is the working of the devilish influences trying to obstruct our attainment of Buddhahood. As such, we mustn't let illness intimidate us. The Daishonin teaches us how to bring forth courage to face illness and attain Buddhahood in this lifetime. When you experience illness, the important thing is to bring forth even stronger faith. Keep chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with the determination to make this illness an opportunity to demonstrate the tremendous power of faith and achieve truly amazing growth. The Daishonin writes, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is like the roar of a lion. What sickness can therefore be an obstacle? The mystic law is the ultimate source of power for overcoming the sufferings of illness. It is the best of all medicines for our life. Mr. Toda often used to say, the human body is one big pharmaceutical factory. Someone once said to me, he said, Lydia, our body is a wonderful machine, and a lot of times it can heal itself from certain ailments. I remember a true story wherein a guy was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and instead of worrying, depressed, and feeling sad, he decided to enjoy the last moments of his life, and he took a 30-day round-the-world cruise to enjoy his life. And you know what? At the end of the 30 days, he was completely free of cancer. He did not abuse his body with bad and negative emotions and let his body take its course, and in turn, his body rewarded him. So, if you are suffering from illness, it is important to keep chanting earnestly and persistently for the treatment you are now receiving to obtain its greatest possible effect, and for the great life force of the Buddha to manifest itself in your body and defeat the devil of illness. If you base your struggle with illness on faith in the mystic law, you can definitely transform all poison into medicine. The Daishonin teaches, Myo of Myoho, the mystic law, means to revive. In a letter to a follower with a sick family, he says, probably the 10 demon daughters, which are the protective deities in Buddhism, are testing the strength of your faith. In other words, the benevolent forces of the universe cannot fail to protect the practitioners of the mystic law. He is telling the family, you can overcome this. In another letter, the The Daishonin writes, "The sun breaks through the pitch-black dark, and the Lotus Sutra is compared to the sun. As Soka Gakkai members who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and base our lives in the mystic law, a bright sun of hope shines ever in our hearts. We can dispel all darkness and cast off even the heaviest chains of karma. In struggling against illness, for both ourselves and others, we can attain a state of shining health. Chant Daimoku, trusting the power of the Gohonzon. Strive fiercely and patiently. Refuse to accept defeat." Please note, refuse to accept defeat. Never retreat a single step. In the end, you are certain to triumph. I'm going to share with you an experience I heard long time ago about a member who had lung cancer. He chanted and a lot of people chanted for him, and then later he developed tuberculosis. So people start to wonder what bad fortune he had. With all this chanting, after cancer he had tuberculosis. But the wonderful thing that happened later, what happened was the tuberculosis virus or bacteria ate up all the cancer cells. So in the end, he was cancer-free and was left only with tuberculosis, which could be cured, and his life was saved. So this is how the mystic law worked. Our human mind can never comprehend. Concerning emotional or psychological disorders, such as depression, Sensei says, life is long, and there is no need to rush things. I think it is prudent, in the case of psychological disorders, to seek professional advice and take time to get proper care and treatment. Everyone's situation is different. There is no universal prescription or cure. But there is one point I wish to emphasize. I can affirm that none of you who uphold the mystic law is destined to be unhappy. We should more warmly support and watch over those struggling with mental health issues, keeping their long-term welfare always in mind, and also sincerely encourage their family members. Those caring for others with emotional or psychological disorders face a great challenge too, and they should try to find creative ways to take a break and refresh themselves. Showing care and support for those suffering from emotional illnesses will lead to the cultivation of a true deep spirit of compassion. Those who have experienced great suffering can develop into outstanding people. Those who have undergone painful trials can help many others. Such individuals have an important mission. This is the teaching of Nichiren Buddhism and the Bodhisattva way of life. Everything in life has a meaning. Nichiren Daishonin writes, even the jewels and treasures that fill the world are no substitute for life. Life is precious. Though one may be ill, this has no bearing on the inherent nobility, dignity, and beauty of one's life. Following, I'm sharing 5 quotes on battling illness from President Ikeda. Number 1. Sickness and death are unavoidable in life. To experience illness is not itself misfortune, but to be defeated by illness is misfortune. 2. Those who have experienced illness themselves are more considerate of others. The experience of illness makes us more compassionate. Illness teaches us many things. It makes us look death in the face and think about the meaning of life. It makes us realize just how precious life is. It is just a way leading us upward to a more elevated life. It is a learning experience, and for those who base themselves on the mystic law, everything becomes energy for creating happiness, fuel for self-improvement. As far as I am concerned, years and years ago when I came to Sydney, I went for a gynae test. And this top gynae doctor just removed a tiny little polyp. But right after that, I bleeded so heavily that I was rushed to the hospital and I had to undergo operation. And then the next day, she said I was okay, and then I was discharged. And then 5 days later, I started to bleed again. And when I went to the doctor, she examined me and she said, it's okay for you to bleed. Take another 5 weeks and you'll be okay. And at that time, I just didn't trust her anymore, because when my second son was born, he was born 10 pounds, natural birth, and I only bleeded 1 week. And how come a little polyp can make me bleed 5 weeks? I just could not believe it, and I could not take it. So I stayed in bed and without moving, because I was afraid that as soon as I started to move, I would bleed. And what happened was, one day on a Sunday, a friend, his wife and daughter came to visit me, and the daughter was very unhappy because she was fired and she separated from her boyfriend. So without thinking of my bleeding, I tried to encourage her to chant, and I got hold of some materials to encourage the mother and the daughter to chant. And you know what? On Monday, the next day, my bleeding stopped. So I think my senior members always told me, they said, just put SGI activities first. Go and encourage others, and your problems will be solved. And this is so true. Number 3, people today have been described as being only half healthy, meaning that we are all afflicted with some kind of illness, and that our physical health will decline as we age. But is sickness necessarily the cause of unhappiness? Absolutely not. It is being defeated by illness and losing hope that makes us unhappy. 4, overcoming illness is profoundly meaningful, not only in terms of one's own well-being, but also because it enables one to inspire and help many others who are going through similar struggles. All sorts of things happen in life. It is a continuous series of changes. What matters in the end is never to be defeated by anything, not just health, with financial problems, with work problems, relationships, everything. Our attitude should be never be defeated. Keep fighting and not lose hope. 5, health is not simply the absence of illness. Real health is the will to overcome every form of adversity. Please note, here we say every form of adversity, meaning any struggles you are facing, any problems you have. All right? We need to have the will to overcome and use even the worst of circumstances as a springboard for new growth and development. Simply put, the essence of health is the constant renewal and rejuvenation of life. I'm going to share an article written by a UK member as follows, quote, "We all know how our mood can be affected when we have an illness or a physical complaint. Our overall health depends on both our physical and mental well-being. So, what does this all mean to us? Biologists will say that human life starts with conception. The Buddhist view is that before conception, the non-physical energy of life was waiting, latent in the universe, until the right causes and circumstances and conditions arose. At such point in time, when the body is no longer able to function, that will be the end of this temporary existence. But the non-physical will continue on, emergent with the energy of the universe, returning to latency. Now, this refers to death, which means that you may feel somebody's physical body not functioning. You think that this is the end of his life. In fact, it is not. The physical body, yes, it exists, it ceased to exist or to work, but the energy will continue on. And given the right circumstances, it will come back to life. Maybe not as the same person or in the same world, but it will definitely come back to life. So if our body and mind are both expressions of the law of the universe, described as Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, when there is disharmony somewhere in our life, this will become apparent in either our physical health and well-being or our spiritual life condition. If we want to re-establish harmony, the best starting point is to stimulate the Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, the Buddha nature in our life. Of course, Buddhism recognizes the value of appropriate medical procedures and treatments. We should absolutely not think that chanting alone will be sufficient. By fusing with the universal law, which harmonizes both the physical and non-physical aspects of life, we will develop the wisdom to know what action to take, as well as draw great protection out of the environment, in the shape of the right medical practitioners with the best knowledge of our condition and the best treatments. I was taught by a very senior member in Hong Kong. She said, if we are ill, we need to chant for the most appropriate and the best person who is capable and willing to help us. It doesn't have to be a doctor. It could be anybody else. And I remember there was a member in Hong Kong who was very, very sick for a long time. And she said to the Go Hansen, I have no more money to go to see doctors. I don't know what to do. I need somebody to help me. And someone from the SGI appeared in her life. And this member went to her home and gave her massage with medical oil for a whole month without charging her a cent. And after 1 month, this member was cured. But the one who gave her a massage disappeared. This is how mystic it is. Okay, let me go on quoting. Quote, it is because both body and mind are each expression of the middle way, or Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, that body and mind are one. Our bodies are the physical manifestation of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, and our minds and spirits are the non-physical manifestation of the same law, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. If our body is unhealthy, our life condition is being affected by that condition. Alongside working with doctors to find the best medical solution to our physical illnesses, we can also positively raise our life condition and reveal the best possible state, Buddhahood, which we do through chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. It is becoming increasingly acknowledged that our mind can have a powerful effect on our body. For example, if our mind is affected, perhaps by stress, this can result in physical symptoms such as stomach ache, eczema, ulcers, high blood pressure, and heart disease. I remember a long time ago, I was quite sick. I was always feeling stomach pain and no energy and so forth. And then I remember my father told me, he said, Lydia, if you are happy, then you will not feel sick. And he was right. A lot of sickness came from our mind. So while seeking the best and most appropriate medical attention, Nichiren Buddhism practitioners also use their faith, practice, and study to alleviate the stress for reducing and transforming the physical condition. Many members of SGI have experienced improvements in the areas of health and their physical condition through chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. This UK member who wrote the article met the practice of Buddhism when he was recovering from a broken leg after a motorbike accident. He did not have instantaneous miracle cure when he started to chant, but he quickly developed a healing mental attitude, which in turn helped the process of physical recovery. Understanding this connection between body and mind has been very useful on other occasions when one or other aspect is feeling tired or out of rhythm. So if we wish to be truly happy, as Nichiren Buddhists, we know the cause that ensures that both our bodies and minds are in harmony with the rhythm of life itself. With Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, we can be happy in both mind and body. Unquote. Recently, a week ago, I received the following experience from another member. Quote, Mr. Kobayashi, age 57 then, a vice chapter leader in Nakano, Japan, suddenly lost consciousness in mid-June 1998. He was rushed to the hospital immediately, but his pupils, the eye pupils, had already begun to dilate when he was in the ambulance. By the time he arrived at the hospital, his condition was so critical that he was sent directly to the intensive care unit. The doctor told his wife, Maichiko, who was the Vice Woman Division chapter leader. The doctor said, the central pivotal portion of his brain has been badly damaged. Please be mentally prepared because his chances of survival are only 1%. But even if he did survive, he would be a living vegetable. Maichiko found herself saying to the doctor, no, I will not give up hope. I'm going to make sure he will recover. Upon reaching home, she went straight to the Gohonsen and chanted Daimoku profusely. While she was chanting, a fellow women's division leader called her on the phone and said, we must pull your husband back to the garden of Kosen-Rufu. With this strong encouragement, Maichiko chanted with even greater conviction. As she prayed, she visualized. Here, I should mention that visualization is very useful. She visualized her husband participating in Gakka activities in high spirits. Each time she envisioned his victory, her prayers were enhanced with joy and appreciation. Her husband's miraculous drama began the following day. As Maichiko chanted Daimoku by her husband's ears, she could see his big toe moving in rhythm with her Daimoku. This was something impossible, as the doctor had confirmed with her that none of his body muscle could move. The doctor added, there is no way that your husband's brain nerve can be revived. Every day, the doctor told Maichiko that it was impossible for her husband to recover. But every day, her husband would surprise the doctor and proved him wrong. First, his eyelid opened 2 centimeters. Next, his fingers began to move. Then his knees. Then his shoulders. And finally, he could even turn around on the bed. Now, this incident reminds me of what my senior member told me also. She said, Lydia, when you are sick or your family member is sick, don't trust anybody. Don't listen to what other people say, because there will be a lot of negative comments coming to you to weaken your faith. Even the doctors. All right, sometimes the doctors, they do not know the mystic law, the power of the mystic law. So they just tell you things that they learn from the books or by pharmaceutical companies. But when we chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, our situation is very different from others. So just keep up your faith. Don't listen to the negative comments. And this is exactly what Maichiko did. Finally, on July 3rd, the husband was transferred from the ICU to the normal ward. On July 17th, he could walk 7 steps with support, and on August 24th, he was allowed to go out of the hospital for the day to attend a meeting where a video of President Ikeda's guidance at the headquarters leaders meeting was screened. Then, on August 31, he was fully discharged, and he walked out of the hospital with his very own legs. Before he left, his doctor told him in amazement, "I must confess, your recovery is completely out of my expectation. I'm deeply impressed." Strangely enough, my Chico and her family also received great protection financially, despite the fact that her husband was the sole breadwinner. Presently, Mr. Kobayashi has fully recovered and actively contributing to Kozen Rufu with deep gratitude. Till today, he does not suffer from any side effects and is in the peak of his health." Unquote. In summary, following are guidances from Sensei and SGI publications on health and sickness. 1. A critical illness gives us a chance to contemplate death and reflect on one's life. One can use the suffering of illness to face these deepest issues of life and death. 2. Confronting illness can be an opportunity to awaken to the deep meaning of life. A person who has faced a major illness knows how to deeply appreciate life. As for myself, after this bleeding incident, I began to realize that my condition was brought forth because of the negativity in my life. And then I began to realize that to be able to walk, sleep, eat is a blessing indeed. So I began to appreciate my life more. Number 3, health is not simply the absence of illness. Real health is the will to overcome every form of adversity and use even the worst of circumstances as a springboard for new growth and development. 4. Human life is indeed wondrous. You may be ill physically, but as long as your mental state is strong, it most certainly will exert a positive influence on the body. There may be no better remedy than hope. 5. Illness is not something to be ashamed of. It is not a sign of misfortune or defeat. Suffering is the fuel of wisdom, and it opens the way to happiness. 6. Illness is part of life. From the perspective of Buddhism, the important thing is to summon the courage to fight it with the determination to make a breakthrough. True health is found in a positive and constructive attitude. 7. It is precisely because we battle with sickness that we are able to experience firsthand the best and worst in life, allowing us to forge the strength within ourselves that will never succumb. That time of struggle enables one to empathize with the suffering of the sick. 8. Life is wonderful. It is gifted with the ability to survive and the power to heal. Ultimately, it is we ourselves who cure our illness, and the decision to undertake this battle arises from within. 9. Someone once said, doctors and medicines can cure only 30% of your illness, and the rest of the 70% depends on your own self. 10. One should take advantage of the power of medical science to regain one's health, but it is the inherent power of life within us that will ultimately bring out the benefit of the treatment. 11. Sickness and death are unavoidable in life. To experience illness is not misfortune, but to be defeated by illness is. 12. The key to battling illness lies in summoning a vigorous life force and a positive fighting spirit. This brings out the full effectiveness of treatments. 13. True life shines in the lives of those who continue to passionately devote themselves to creating positive value and the happiness of oneself and others. So I hope the above will bring courage and encouragement and hope to those who are suffering with illness or those who suffer the loss of their loved ones. Thank you very much.